Well, fellas, it turns out balancing a full-time job with full-time school and full-time wedding planning is pretty damn hard. But not to worry, because we're officially married, we're done with this semester for now, and I just wanted to take a little break to watch a movie and talk with you about a movie that my wife suggested that I watched. And let me tell you, I was not disappointed. But to really show you what this movie is all about, I'm going to flash you an image on the screen. It'll be right here, and you have to promise me that you are not going to goon too hard. Okay, you promise? You ready? I'm going to do it. You still with me? You good? Did you goon? I told you not to do it too hard, but you did. You did it anyways. Who am I kidding? Bloodsport is a 1988 fighting movie starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, I can't say this dude's name. Van Damme? I'm just gonna say that because it's much easier. Which tells the real-life story of Frank Dux, an American fighter on his way to win an underground fighting tournament known as the Kumite. Yes, you heard that right. This movie is 100% based on true events. I swear to God. The movie starts with a cool training montage of a bunch of different fighters as the Kumite is officially set up. We're introduced to Captain Frank Dux. Second Lieutenant Deadeyes over here tells Frank that Colonel found out that Frank was wanting to leave for Hong Kong during his furlough, and he's not too happy about it.
What's the problem?
The Colonel found out you're going to Hong Kong. He wants to talk to you about it.
You'll notice very quickly that the dialogue is a little bit, stiff. Almost as if they're reading off of a movie script, but I wouldn't know anything about that.
Tell him I'll be right there after I take a shower.
But I'll have to wait, sir.
But Frank, I have to wait on you. Oh, so what? Would you rather him go to the Colonel all stinky and smelly and sweaty? I mean, who does this Butterbar really think he is? Looking the way that he does, completely out of regs himself. The shirt is barely tucked in, there's no name tag or ribbons, wearing his cover inside of his building, and his hair looks like it's touching ears, which all classifies as out of regs to me. As former property of the US government, I reserve the right to be a pedant, because a second lieutenant got mad at me one day for not saluting him when he was across the street. I couldn't see his rank. I didn't know. I'm sorry. Just kidding. Fuck you. So you're responsible for this mess. Frank ends up escaping somehow, and the LT freaks out and heads straight to the Colonel to give him the bad news.
Sir!
My boy cannot even salute correctly.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
But then again, neither did the guard outside, so I guess we're all sorts of fucked up, aren't we?
Get Helmer and Rollins on this right away. And I don't want to see your face again until Dukes is beside it. Understand?
The Colonel is not at all happy with Butterbar here because he just let Frank slip right past him like butter. Do you like the ADR? I hope so, because there's a lot of it in this movie and it sticks out harder than my bone. Frank makes his way over to his adoptive family's house, where his adoptive mother answers the door and greets Frank in possibly the most awkward way.
Can I kiss you?
Now, I call them his adoptive family, but I'm not really sure if that's accurate. I think this is just his sensei's family that kind of like he spent a lot of time with. I don't know, like adoptive might not be the right word just because of how much weird sexual tension there is between these two. This is very strange. Frank is here to see his adoptive father, but he gets sidetracked when he notices a katana and starts to have a flashback to when he was just a wee lad breaking and entering.
Come on, Frank. What's the matter? You chicken?
Come on, Frank, what's the matter with you?
You're just gonna stand there? You're gonna grab something.
So Frank and his friends start to steal the katana until they hear a door open from the other end of the house, and Frank, being Frank, decides to stay there and continue looking at the katana like a moron. Unfortunately, this guy can't hold back his son from kicking the shit out of Frank, despite his greatest efforts to stop him.
Nothing beats taking out some enemies with your old man.
This little boy is Shingo, and this man will eventually become the adoptive father I've been talking about, who we'll refer to as Sensei I'm reading from a script, I can't even get it right. Sensei Senzo Tanaka, 100% certified real person. Now, the flashback likes to do this thing every now and then where they cut back to the modern day, showing us Frank's face, just in case you forgot who this flashback belonged to. It's happened twice already, and thank God, because I have no clue what's going on. I would have gotten lost.
You cannot get katana sword by stealing.
I wasn't going to steal it.
Yankee would know.
Senzo makes a deal with Frank that instead of calling the cops on him, he'll train him with Shingo, which more or less boils down to Frank getting his ass kicked on numerous occasions by Shingo.
Why don't you quit, Rondine?
God damn, that was racist.
Shingo immediately eats his words though when Frank saves him from being beat up by a bunch of bullies, which is pretty incredible considering just how absolutely bored Frank looks here. And just like that, Frank and Shingo are best friends after Shingo says,
Someday, I'll fight in the Kumite and make my father proud.
Frank insists that Senzo teaches him how to fight so he can avenge Shingo's death.
Teach me. I can do it.
You are not Japanese.
The actor who plays Senzo, by the way, is Chinese, in case you were wondering. But I guess he realized that himself, so he starts training Frank and is kicking his ass using only his mind. This is peak cinematography. I should make it clear that Jean-Claude Van Damme is also an actual martial artist, specifically holding a second Dan black belt in karate, so don't go into this thinking that I'm making fun of him, because this dude would 100% demolish me. I just think that the fight choreography could have been handled a little bit better, because this is gross. Man, I wonder who handled the fight choreography in this movie anyways.
Hold on. Bingo!
Anyways, we go through an entire montage of Frank's training, which includes cracking your knuckles, grabbing goldfish, and serving the tea to the... Alright, will you please stop looking at him like that? Your husband is right there. Oh boy, I tell you, that's the last time I stand up for somebody. Jeez. At this point, Senzo begins to basically torture Frank in order for him to learn how to not experience pain and only focus on meditation. I can only imagine that Frank's cock and balls are completely non-existent at this point. Probably as punishment for Frank giving his wife googly eyes earlier, but hey, you know what, that's his issue. I'll let him deal with that. But Senzo realizes that he's made a mistake by making Frank far too powerful, because he's getting that shit like it was a walk in the park. He even yanks the metal rope holder thing out of the fucking log. Nothing but pure terror on this man's face. Left with no other options, Senzo sets out to execute Frank with the katana that Frank so desperately wanted, because God forbid this rando steals his wife from out from under him.
You are not Japanese.
She's also Chinese, in case you were wondering. I'm kidding, by the way. He's basically done with his training, and look at that. Now we're back in the real world. Yeah, remember when this was just a flashback? Bet you had them reminders telling you that what this actually was, because this was a solid 11 minutes of just flashback. Frank tells Senzo on his deathbed that he's on his way to Hong Kong to fight in the Kumite, to which Senzo replies with the only thing that he can muster.
Don't fuck my wife when I'm dead.
We're in Hong Kong now, and we get our first glimpse at this cocky bastard.
Hey, babe, wanna go out with a real big man? Too handsome for you, huh, honey?
Frank bumps into him at the hotel, and they play a fighting game, and of course Frank wins. Of course he's good at it, because we all know that if you're good at fighting, you're good at fighting games. This dude's name is Ray Jackson, and he's also here to fight in the Kumite, because he just says it out loud.
You wanna see some real fighting, you can see me fight at the Kumite.
Mind you, the Kumite is supposed to be highly secret and highly illegal. Nobody's supposed to know about it, kind of like how you're not supposed to talk about Fight Club. But they just, throughout the entire movie, they just talk about the Kumite. It's not a secret. The reason I mention this is because we're also introduced to this reporter who's trying to get the scoop on the Kumite, but can't pry the information out of anyone.
You two are here for the Kumite, aren't you?
Kumite? What is Kumite?
See, now that's some bullshit.
And I don't know, it just might not be that good of a secret when at least she has, you know, the notion of the Kumite, but I'm not surprised when you have blabbermouths like Ray over here just screaming it out. You're gonna come watch me at the Kumite? What was that? What was that thing? Back at Senzo's house, the feds are there searching for Frank. In case you forgot, the colonel, who also wasn't in regs earlier, is still looking for Frank. Why? I'm not really sure, but it sure is important. It's a matter of national security. Back in Hong Kong, Mr. Lin comes up to meet Frank and Ray. He's basically their manager, for lack of a better term.
This is the biggest Kumite ever.
Will you shut your fucking mouth? This is supposed to be a secret tournament. Mr. Lin takes our boys to the Kumite, which is being held in the walled city of Kowloon, which was a real place that existed up until 1994.
Okay, USA.
Jean-Claude Van Damme is from Belgium, in case you were wondering. At the Kumite, the employees are surprised to see Frank represent Senzo and his family, so in order to prove his worth, they make Frank perform the Dim Mak.
Show us the dim mak.
What the hell is a dim-mak?
After Frank literally pulverizes a brick, the main villain of the movie says his first of 2 lines in the entire movie.
Brick, not hit back.
This is Chong Li, played by Bolo Young, who is also a martial artist and played in other fighting movies, including Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon. So if you're a fan of fighting movies, you have definitely seen him around before, especially as a villain. Back at the hotel, some definitely 100% legit Syrian fighters harass the reporter girl from earlier.
Guess the Kumite starts 1 day earlier this year, huh, fellas?
Look, guys. Dude, the Kumite is not a secret anymore. Everybody knows about it at this point. The bartender knows about it. The reporter lady knows about it. Grandma knows about it. Now, instead of fighting, Frank proposes a bet saying that if he can grab the quarter before they can, then they'll leave the girl alone.
What? You can't do this.
Just relax.
And of course, Frank gets it because he remembered his fish training. It's all coming full circle. Thank God they showed us the flashback. Otherwise, I would have forgotten. I don't know what the hell's going on. So now we set up this lady, whose name we still don't know, as a love interest for Frank, but she's strictly business starting off because she wants to know about this thing called the Kumite. Who the hell knows? What even is that? I don't know what the Kumite is. Never heard about it. It's pretty secretive last time I checked.
I'm just trying to find out what it's all about.
Okay, I'll talk to you.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Finally, after 25 minutes, we're at the start of the Kumite. People start making their bets and the fighting starts. There's not really a whole lot to say about it except it's your average 1980s fighting movie fights, and they're awesome. Ray fights and he wins after slamming this dude's head in.
How many you, man? Yeah, you, man.
And we get to see Chong Li fight. We learn that he's the current champion of the Kumite and holds the fastest knockout record. Also in the last Kumite, he apparently killed a man and watched him die right on stage, so he's definitely no pushover. He even hits this dude with the good old
finish him.
Hey, speaking of which, this movie is starting to seem awfully familiar. It's like I've seen this before. Now it's Frank's turn to fight, and look, he's fighting that asshole that he was doing the coin thing with.
Now I'll show you some trick or two.
And just like that, Frank holds the fastest knockout record. Hell yeah, Frank. The janitor even snatches up the dude's tooth, covered in blood, and puts it directly in his mouth. Hell yeah, janitor, good for you. We then get to watch all the colorful characters fight in their own battles, and man, there's that itch again. I swear I've seen this before somewhere. The feds end up finding Frank and tell him, listen bro, we can't just have you getting hurt. Come back home.
Oh my God!
Well, fellas, looks like Ray just assaulted a federal agent. Can't wait to see what charges that will be brought to him later at the end of the movie. That definitely happens. Can't wait. A wacky chase ensues, and it's not even really a chase because Frank stops to taunt them at like any chance that he gets. Almost like he's an NPC in a game that makes sure the player is catching up to them constantly. Frank, you are on the run from the fucking feds. Stop alerting them to your position and run.
The clap of my ass cheeks keeps alerting the guards.
Mind you, Frank definitely would be hit with that Article 15 at the very least, if not court-martialed entirely whenever he got back to the States. Immediately sent to Leavenworth for heading over to Hong Kong, directly disobeying orders. Just saying, yeah, but that happens, I'm sure. Anyways, Frank gets away because tee-hee, they fell in the water. Whoops, oh dang it, he got away type shit. Now we're on a date with that reporter lady who I swear we do not know the name of her yet. Frank has spilled the beans on the Kumite, and she's asking to be let into it. Oh, pretty please, Frank, will you please let me know in the Kumite? Please let me come.
What do you want from me?
Well, I'd really like you to help me get into the Kumite. But more than that, I'd really like to get to know you.
Class A manipulation. There's no way my boy Frank would fall for that. Frank, no, Frank, you fool! But hey, at least we get to see his ass. Hey, look at that, I showed you the rest of the scene. I've held up my end of the bargain. Now you may goon. It's day 2 of the Kumite, and look who managed to show up.
This isn't the first time I've had to go undercover to get a story.
Time for more fighting, fellas. The fighting goes on for a while, but this accumulates into the signature fighting move of the movie, and that's the split nut punch. I've been kind of hinting at it for a while throughout this video, but if you haven't caught on already, this movie is actually one of the direct inspirations, if not the inspiration, for the Mortal Kombat franchise. And Frank Dux in this movie, I shit you not, is Johnny Cage. And it actually turns out that in the newest Mortal Kombat game, Jean-Claude himself makes an appearance as a playable character. Or he's actually a skin for Johnny Cage, but what's the difference, really? Now, a lot of you were probably screaming that at your screens because you already knew that, but I sure as shit didn't. But now that I do know, I think it's fucking nuts. Literally. Anyways, back to the movie. Ray faces off against Chong Li and gets his ass beaten to a pulp, nearly killing him, and then Chong Li makes this face. We also finally find out that this lady's name is Janice, and she's super scared that our boy here might get hurt or something.
Johnny, stay out of
This.
If you want to argue, go elsewhere, please.
But she'll never understand. They never understand. Look how fucking thick he is, god dang! Frank runs into the feds again and they just give up.
Okay, Frank, you win.
They quite basically just say fuck it and then go watch the final day of the Kumite. It's actually kind of cute. So just imagine what happens to these two guys when they get back to the States. Like they failed their mission. They didn't prevent Frank from getting hurt, and they just participated in an illegal fighting tournament by being spectators. They just let it happen, which I would say is probably against the law, right? Am I the only one who thinks this? Frank's first fight goes well enough, I suppose, and he still hasn't gotten over taunting his enemies because he's just letting this dude kick his ribs in just to show off how tough he is. Listen, even if pain doesn't bother you, which believe me it does, you are still breaking your ribs. Like your bones can still get broken, and if you break a rib, then more often than not, there is a good chance that you could puncture a lung. I'd like to see somebody try fighting, or let alone even standing up with a completely punctured lung. Chong Li then fights and straight up kills this man. Not sure why the ref is super shocked about this, considering he's literally done this last time. Well, what, did you really think that nobody was gonna die here in a bare knuckle brawl fight tournament?
I never asked for this.
You are next.
Hey, look, there's this other line. Hope you enjoyed that. Now for the fight we've all been waiting for. Frank Dux versus Chong Li. Whoever wins this fight determines the fate of Earthrealm. Wait, that's something else. But there's some fuckery afoot as Chong Li's assistant gives him a little tug and hides his Adderall in the band of his pants. Oh my god, he's wearing Ray's headband. Oh, now it's personal.
You break my record. Now I break you. Like I break your friend.
Huh, I guess he says 3 lines in this movie, not 2. This fight truly is the fight of many faces. If you watch this movie purely for the wacky faces these two make, you will not be disappointed in this fight, especially when Chong Li pulls out his secret weapon, fence-laced Addies. Bro is about to see the light of heaven here shortly, but Frank centers himself, remembering his training. remembering all Senzo taught him.
Don't fuck my wife when I'm dead.
Until finally, he delivers the final blow to Chong-Li and snaps his fucking neck. Alright, well, he doesn't do that, but he does win the tournament, and all of Earthrealm is saved from Shao Kahn and the forces of Outworld. Back at the hospital, we get more forced bonding between Ray and Frank, as if this movie established Ray as anything more than a dickhead that thinks he can beat Frank at anything.
I love you, my friend.
You have known him for 4 days max, Frank. Shut your bitch ass up. Now we're at the end, but before we go, Frank must wish one final goodbye to his girlfriend, who I guess is taking another flight or staying in China. I don't really know, to be honest. Get on the plane with them and go home. So that's Bloodsport, fellas, the very true story of Frank Dux, who has gone on to fight 329 matches within 5 years and remain undefeated, which would literally make him the greatest fighter to ever exist. Name any fighter, Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris, whatever, all of them. Name any fighter that you want, and I guarantee you Frank Dux has just completely topped them in every which way. But with that being said, it makes me wonder, who the fuck is Frank W. Dux, and why is this the first time I am hearing of him? I just want to make it clear that this video was initially meant to be purely about the Bloodsport movie, until I went down the rabbit hole of who Frank Dux actually was. Right when I saw that ending screen saying that this was a true story, I had to look this shit up. I don't want this to go on longer than it already has, and I'm not trying to make this a deep dive on Frank Dux, so I'm just letting you know everything that I'm saying right now can be found on his Wikipedia page. I'm just reading you the most hilarious bits, okay? Let's start off with Frank's alleged military service. In the movie, he's a captain in the US Army, when in actuality, he was in the Marine Corps Reserves from 1975 to 1981. These are the same years that the movie claims he fought his 329 matches, so we're already massively fucked when it comes to timelines right now. Apparently he was referred to a psych eval by the Marine Corps for flighty and disconnected ideas. So even the military themselves knew that this dude was losing his marbles. Now, Frank claims to have been decorated with a bunch of awards to include the Medal of Honor, but whenever his military records were retrieved, it turns out that all that was a big ol' lie. And in response to this, Frank said that the military sabotaged his record to try to discredit him. So much like other spineless con men, when you're caught and caught out for being a liar, what's the best option that you have? Well, it's to pretend that everybody is against you, and it must be a conspiracy against you. Everybody is against you, and you're the only sane one. Of absolute genius move by Frank Dux here.
I think you're terribly naive.
But what about Frank's fighting history? Surely he wouldn't be lying about all of this, right? He's the man that created Dux of Ryu, a legitimate fighting style. I swear to God, don't Google it. Look, it says Dux Ryu, ninjutsu, taijutsu, hand-to-hand combat. I added so many keywords to make it look like I know what I'm talking about. Therefore, it must be legit. It's important for me to point out the distinctions of ninjutsu and taijutsu. Ninjutsu is not actually a fighting style. It's basically a set of techniques that involve espionage, stealth, and the like. Taijutsu refers to the actual hand-to-hand combat, and it's just a blanket term for various combat skills. Hey guys, I just wanted to add this while I'm editing this video real quick. There's a lot of controversy around what ninjutsu is and taijutsu is and stuff like that. I'm going based off of the original definition of ninjutsu, which was the espionage, the stealth, and stuff like that. I'm not talking about a lot of the modern definitions of it, where they've almost made it into a fully fledged fighting style all its own. I'm not referring to that. I don't even know if that's legit or not. I'm not a professional enough to make a comment on that. I've seen a lot of people say that it's bullshit, that it's fake, they're all trash dojos, they're only there to make money. I've seen people say it's legit and it's the best thing that they've ever done. If you enjoy doing it, hey, good for you. Same thing with taijutsu. I've seen that it's just a blanket term, and I've seen other people say it is a very specific type of fighting style and it's nothing else. Listen, I don't know. Maybe one of you guys can clear it up for me. At the end of the day, if you enjoy doing it, awesome, good for you. I'm not an expert. I just think it's very funny, and it really muddies the waters on taking Frank Dux seriously, if that makes any sense. So if any of you guys actually are very knowledgeable in this, please let me know. Please let all of us know and help us clear this up. Well, what about Senzo, the dad whose wife wanted to sleep with Frank in the movie? Surely he exists, right? Frank claims that when he was 16, Senzo took him to Japan where he was trained as a ninja. When he was 16, this would be child abduction, by the way. Frank at one point claimed that he didn't know where Senzo was, but then changed his story to say that he saw him on his deathbed and asked Frank to fight in the Kumite like you saw in the movie. So I guess the latter is the true canon. It also turns out that the name Senzo Tanaka was lifted directly from Ian Fleming's James Bond novel, You Only Live Twice. Frank Dux literally lifted the name of a ninja commander in a 007 novel for his fucking sensei. That's crazy to me. But do I even have to say at this point that the Kumite itself was not real? According to John Johnson from the Los Angeles Times, yes, that's really his name, he was told by Frank Dux to speak to a man named Richard Robinson who would corroborate his story on the Kumite's existence since they met each other at the actual Kumite itself.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
Robinson did confirm Dux' story at first and said that he was invited to the Kumite because he was an undefeated wrestler at a Pennsylvania high school. This is supposed to be a group of the greatest fighters in the world coming together for a secret tournament, and you're literally sending scouts to a fucking high school. Are you kidding me? But it gets even better because when Johnson went to verify where Robinson had gone to school, it turns out that he actually went to school with Frank and was really good friends with him. So whenever Johnson went to Robinson with this information, Robinson immediately folded, saying, "All right, I don't know what to say. Frank was a buddy of mine when I was in LA." But on top of all of that, the absolute craziest claim that Frank Dux himself has made is that he has stopped a plot to assassinate the one and only Steven Seagal. I literally cannot make this shit up. He actually said this.
Steven had just gotten together with Kelly LeBrock, and a guy walks in my school, and I kid you not, he had a briefcase full of cash. Walks in driving a Rolls Royce and wanted me to go basically hurt Seagal. And
Steven Seagal, if you don't already know, has also been called out for being a martial artist fraud, and basically he's like Frank Dux. I don't even know which one's worse at this point. It's just very hilarious to me that these two somehow crossed paths in their life. Now, for legal reasons, because of, obviously, all of this is my opinion, okay? I'm not going to sit here and say that either one of them are frauds or they're trying to scam people. I'm not trying to say that's a fact. This is all my opinion, but you should definitely do your own research and draw your own conclusions. Or force H-Bomber Guy to make a video on this dude. That would be really fun to watch. So, Bloodsport. Yeah, it's a pretty good movie for what it is. Good as in unapologetically 80s good. It doesn't take itself too seriously no matter how much Frank Dux wants it to, and it's a lot of fun, especially if you're interested in seeing where Mortal Kombat got some of its inspiration. Oh my god, I have 6 minutes left on this camera. I am so sorry. The video is not supposed to be this long, but I really hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that this was very nice to come back to, especially me being gone for a little bit. Shit really did get busy, so hopefully we can get back on schedule. But until next time, I'm going to go pay for an ambulance that will eventually put me in debt for the rest of my life. See you later.